There is a verse in the Quran where Ibrahim A.S asking the idols, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you speak?" So the question that comes to our mind is that Allah SWT also does not speak to us, and still we do worship Allah.
You have thrown up a valid doubt. In this question that Ibrahim A.S. was asking the idols, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you eat and why don't you speak?" He actually challenged the powers and authority of those idols. As we can see, the same question is also mentioned in the Quran in other place, in other words, where Ibrahim A.S. is asking people who worship them, "Do they hear you when you call upon them? Or do they provide any benefit or harm to you?" And they replied, "No, we just saw our forefathers doing this." But for Ibrahim salam, it was disturbing to accept those human made carvings as his masters, just because everyone around him was doing this. So he just called them into question because it was evident to him that these idols are non living objects. If he asked them for his needs and his problems, they cannot provide any solution.
So, being a Muslim, if we transfer these same questions towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that does Allah speak to us or listen to us?
There is a big yes. There is a verse in the Quran quoting the words of Ibrahim alayhis salam said, "Indeed, my Lord listened to the supplications and he is the best listener." Let's see what makes Ibrahim alayhis salam saying this and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listened and responded to Ibrahim alayhis salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided Ibrahim alayhis salam with logic and the signs of logic. The stars, the moon, the skies, their rotation with day and night made him think who is running such an organized system, the system which is very precise and disciplined.
No doubt.
It means the language or medium that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to guide him was logical reasoning around him. Allah revealed his open signs for him.
But how Allah reveals his logical sign for him?
Ibrahim A.S. was asking questions by seeing stars and the moon. He was asking logical questions and calling upon his Creator in his heart to guide him. He was praying to his Creator to tell him who is he, because he knows that if he has created me, he must be there. He won't leave me alone. Allah showed him that this is not me and this is also not me. Your Lord is someone higher than all of this. So he got the right direction because he was using his brains and his wisdom with a very strong belief in his heart. And he witnessed the way how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listened to his heart and guided him with so much precision. With his open signs, the signs which are pleading about the presence of their creator with strong logic.
It means a person only needs to use his common sense with open eyes and faith in his heart to listen to Allah's replies.
Exactly, as Ibrahim alayhis salam did. That's why Ibrahim alayhis salam said in the following verses, "My master is the one who created me and then he guides me." Every human being has this faith or knowledge or this logical wisdom by default. As a child, this by default wisdom and faith works and asks questions. Some got the right answers from their parents, and many kids are being entertained by fake, imaginary, magical stories, stories that have no logical and eye visible proofs. Those who deny, they deny subsequently due to their worldly desires. And kids later on either follow the path of their elders or go behind those who are fulfilling those so called same desires. That can be anything.
This is so true. So, can we listen to Allah in the same way?
Yes, why not? But Allah has made it much easier for us. Allah has revealed His Kalam for us. The Quran is Allah's Kalam with us. Kalam means conversation, one to one dialogue, where He is talking to us, the human beings. This kalam contains the same medium, the logical reasoning and enlightening arguments that improves one's insight and ability to see. When you see things differently with logic, it always provides solution for us. And everyone can read this conversation in his own language because through this conversation, no one is guiding you but Allah Himself. Allah Himself is talking to you when you read the Quran. He knows your language, your heart, your pains, and your questions very precisely. As Allah said, we have made this kalam easy for you in your language so that you may understand it. You only need to use your own brain cells, your own wisdom and faith. Just stop behaving like a blind, voiceless sheep who follows the swarm.
Who usually do this?
Such logical arguments that enlighten human vision can only be given by the being who is superior to humans and alive himself and having all the wisdom and knowledge. So can we bring these useless dead idols parallel to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Obviously, no.
That is what Ibrahim A.S. was asking actually. Those statues have no control over anything, not even equal to a very thin membrane around a date seed. How can these idols hear your supplications, and if they hear, they can never respond? But Allah responded and said in the Quran, "I have left nothing in this book which I have not mentioned. It means that any question that one can ever ask, or any kind of problem that may come in the life of people who are existing on this planet until the day of judgment, all those problems have been addressed in this book already. Allah replies with his clear signs, as mentioned in this verse. O Prophet, say, think for a while. If Allah makes night continue over you forever until the day of judgment, then who is the God besides Allah who can bring you light? Don't you hear that? It is really an amazing verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about one of his very clear and open signs, regular, accurate, and error free switching of the day and night. We all know that there is no single entity in this world who has control over this switching.
There is absolutely no one.
No one can bring light if Allah continues the night forever. And after explaining this eye visible sign, Allah says, don't you hear? Although this sign belongs to visionary senses, but Allah is saying, don't you hear? Because this sign is screaming about the presence of one God with logic. There is no error in the system and no one has any control over it.
Not at all.
You know, in Alaska, the daylight continues for 6 months and night continues for 6 months as well. No human being, no scientist, no handmade clay idol can change this duration. People living there have to sleep by watching times on their clock. They cannot match their days and nights with the rest of the world, proving the presence and control of Allah alone. So that's why Allah says in the Quran, be aware of the filth of the idols and also be aware of lying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is certainly talking to us and He is certainly the best listener. The problem is we have closed our eyes and ears. We are not able to listen His replies. We don't want to wake up. We are not ready to open His book and have no time to listen Allah's conversation with us.